Hello and welcome to the MRO Show presented by Chadwell Supply. I'm your host, Adam Porter. Chadwell Supply is the favorite supplier of multifamily professionals. Find out why at chadwellsupply.com. Today on the MRO Show, we are recording live on the expo floor at 2025 NAA Apartmentalize here in sunny Las Vegas. Taking time out of their busy schedule today is Barry Craven, who is the Regional Service Manager at Ginkgo Residential. Barry, thank you for taking your time today on the MRO Show to talk to us.
Absolutely humbled to be here. Appreciate you having me.
We're going to talk a little bit about maintenance and about career opportunities in maintenance. So we all know that turnover is a challenge in multifamily. A recent NAA survey suggested that concerns about career advancement causes many experienced maintenance technicians to question their career opportunities. So that was a recent survey. And so today on the MRO Show, we want to talk about how maintenance technicians can map out a successful career path they can count on. So I really appreciate you, Barry, taking the time to have that conversation with us.
Absolutely.
So for those of folks who are listening and may not be familiar with you, Barry, tell us a little bit about your experience in multifamily. How'd you get into the industry and what are you doing today?
All right. So I started with Ginkgo Residential. I'm one of those rare unicorn multifamily industry employees because I've been with the same company my entire 24 plus year career. When I started with them, it was the name was B&P Residential Properties, and they've changed names a couple times through the years, but still the same people that I've been working with since day one up at the top. And I think that has a lot to do with why I've had the opportunity to be so successful with them was I was loyal to the company that was loyal to me.
What was it about kind of maybe who you were or what they were doing that earned your loyalty?
Well, that was one. I like to eat and I was hungry and I needed to figure out where I was going to pay for lunch and dinner. I had owned my own business before I came into the apartment business, doing remodeling, additions, things like that. And as a young, ignorant business owner, I did have insurance on my employees, but I didn't have it on myself. And I had gotten into a bad car wreck and ended up having to move back into my mother's house for about a year recovering from that. And as that was happening, I said, let me figure out a way to have somebody pay for my insurance for a change. And had an uncle who had done a lot in the apartment industry that had been a very influential person in my life, and I trusted what he said. And he said, let's get you to walk in and see what you can do in this industry. He knew me as a carpenter, but even at that time, I'd learned how to do a lot more than just run a skill saw and swing a hammer. So it was a real interesting industry for me, and just the opportunity to do something new every day really excited me.
So as somebody who found a great company, a good group of people to work with, when you look out on the industry as a whole, that really isn't the trend. I was interviewing somebody this morning and they said that turnover in multifamily is around 36% by some measurements. And I'm curious, Barry, why do you think it is that some folks in this industry who get into maintenance, because there's no shortage of work, that's for sure. Why do you feel like so many folks maybe don't feel like they have a career, or that the prospects just aren't good enough for them?
Well, I think patience is some of them's problem. I can't speak for everyone, but in my experience, I think people are expecting a little too much, a little too quickly, right?
I see.
Patience goes a long way. And, you're coming on to a new company. While you're learning that new company, they're also learning you, right?
That's true.
These companies, it might be the first time that you've come in and worked for a company that does what we do, but they've been hiring people that do this for years. And just speaking from personal experience, as many people as I've hired, after you've been doing it long enough, it takes you a little while to find that comfort zone with a new employee, right? They have to do the right things, and you want to see those happen before you oftentimes feel fully vested in trying to promote that person's career path.
What are some ways, if you have somebody who maybe that you see some good things in them, Maybe they are getting a little antsy. They're not as patient as they ought to be. We've all been young. We know how that is. Uh, what are some ways that you can encourage them, or some ways that you can kind of equip them to stick it out and to make a career of multifamily?
Well, I think really having that ladder and the path drawn out, right, to where your employees understand if they come into the industry in this role, what the next role looks like and what it takes to get from step A to step B, right? So, a lot of what I will talk about is going to be a very narrow field because I've been with the same company my entire career in this industry. But Ginkgo Residential has what we call a service manager in training as well as a property manager in training program. So once we've identified individuals that have been with us 6 months or more and are doing the right things, and we've identified that they're essentially our next leaders that we're looking to grow, we go to them and see if they would be interested in joining that program. Now, a lot of our employees find out about that opportunity in that program just in the hiring process. There's not too many people or not too many companies out there, I think, that have such a structured outline training department as we do. So I use that as a selling point to people when I'm bringing them into my company, right?
That makes a lot of sense, Barry. And it feels like that's something simple. Like if I'm a company out there and I'm having trouble keeping people, and maybe some of those people need a little seasoning, maybe they're quality people and they just didn't see it. If I took some time to be more clear in my communication of what those opportunities might be, that's one step I could take to help maybe reduce some of the turnover.
I agree. And, you talked about being antsy and people, I spoke of people not being patient. When you've got a program like that allows your employees to see that light at the other end of the tunnel, it's very important. Like everybody wants to have personal goals. They want to have professional goals too, right? And with that program, the way that we do it is it's essentially one day a month commitment for a year. And every month we do a different class. This month might be HVAC training, next month might be plumbing. But it's a one day a month commitment. So essentially 12 courses. And even if there's not a place to promote that employee to that next level, once they've graduated that program with our company, we increase the amount of money they earn to get them into the pay range of that next position. So even though I might not have a service manager position to place them at that time, if they've graduated the program, they're being paid as if they were a service manager.
They put in the work and you're rewarding that investment.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of times, that's really just what we need, somebody to take notice of the work that we're putting in.
I tell you, the times in my career when I felt appreciated, it made me want to work harder for the company that was appreciating me, or the supervisor, or that, co-worker, whoever it might be. I've been one that, I don't really ever think of myself as a boss, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. I'm a regional service manager with the company, but I started out on the bottom cleaning, swimming pools and laundry rooms and picking up trash. And when I show up on site, if I see trash on the ground, I'm going to pick it up. I'm not going to point to one of my people and say, go over there and pick that trash up. Now I'm going to hope when they see me walk and pick that trash up that, hopefully they'll beat me to it, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least use that as I shouldn't have let Barry beat me to a piece of trash. He probably shouldn't have found a piece of trash on my property, right? But I feel like when you're loyal to the people that are loyal to you, they're willing to work harder for you.
So if somebody is out there and they like what they're hearing, Barry, maybe they want to make a change, maybe they want to get into multifamily, or maybe they're in a rough situation, not the best company, not the best people, and they just want to make a change. What's a step that individual can make to show that they are worth somebody taking a risk on and bringing onto their team?
Well, so I'm a firm believer that when you hold a credential like a CAMT, right, and that's Certified Apartment Maintenance Technician, it's a accreditation that you get through the National Apartment Association. Normally it's facilitated, offered at the local affiliate level, right? When I'm reviewing resumes and I see a service technician has a CAMT course or license, that shows me that they've invested in themselves, right? A lot of times people have the bare minimum requirements of an EPA license and a CPO license. I like to see extra. I like to see when they're sending me their resumes that they're sharing with me the awards that they've won with previous companies, or the email accolades that they've received from residents or coworkers, right? Those are the things I like to see. So I think just giving them an environment that allows them to see others doing that same thing, receive some of that praise for their hard work, I think it just generates them wanting to do more.
So one of the things I want to follow up on, you mentioned if you have somebody and they walk by and they see a piece of trash and don't feel too good about picking it up, like they're not too big, they can get down. You said you started on the bottom. And I was thinking back, you were talking, my first gig out of high school was picking orders in a warehouse for Marco and Appliance.
Okay.
And, it was a great opportunity. I worked my butt off, but I had a good group of people around me. There was opportunity there. I learned a ton, and they really kind of helped me out. I didn't come in as a skilled guy. I hadn't been to school, not trade school, not college. I did pretty well in high school, but that was it. But I got to learn. So what would you say to somebody who maybe they don't feel like they have the skills, maybe they don't have the aptitude to get one of those certifications? What should they do, Barry, to get to that point?
Well, I'll tell you, we're at a point in our industry. It's an interesting opportunity, or an interesting time for opportunity, because, when I came into this industry, nobody was being hired without certifications, right? I think we're all aware that, not just on the service side, but on the office side as well, our industry is in a labor shortage, right?
Yes.
The whole nation, it's not region. It's not, we're from North Carolina. We're experiencing labor shortage. People from California experiencing labor shortage. People in Las Vegas, everywhere in this country is experiencing that. And it's not just this industry, right? So that has really opened the door to opportunity where 10 years ago, if you didn't have those certifications, you couldn't walk through the door looking for a job, right? That's changed. COVID has changed that mindset, right? Which I actually like it, because I'm a firm believer that if you're green, you're growing, and if you're ripe, you're rotting. I do not like people that know everything, and I've actually never met anybody that did, just people that thought they did, right?
Facts. That's true.
So I really appreciate the opportunity of getting somebody that is green and helping them get to that next level and gain that knowledge. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to teach them the right way the first time than to retrain bad habits. Yeah. So there's now, this time in this industry, they can walk through the door without having this, these bag or tool bag tricks of all these certifications. They really just need to have a good attitude and a willingness and want to work and learn.
I love it. So if you're willing to work hard, invest in yourself, listen to folks who know more and done better, you have a good future here in multifamily.
That's a fact.
Barry, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. I really appreciate you kind of breaking down both your career and then what it takes to be successful as a multifamily maintenance professional. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir. I appreciate it.
Now come back anytime.
All right.
So, and thank you for listening to this episode of the MRO Show here at 2025 NAA Apartmentalized in Las Vegas. If you enjoyed this episode, you got something from it, share it with a friend, and give us 5 stars, please, on your favorite podcast service. And if you'd love to listen to more MRO Show, check us out at chadwellsupply.com/podcast.